My name is Bodo Sieber, CEO of Tagmarshal. I have a German accent. I have a very efficient sense of humor as well. And this is Joey Walters, our GM, based at our Atlanta office.
And I don't have a German accent, obviously. Good morning, everyone. As Bodo said, I'm Joey Walters. I'm based out of Marietta, Georgia. So everybody knows where that's at. We're just a little bit north of Atlanta. So we're glad to have everybody here this morning, and look forward to going through this.
Yes, so thanks for joining us. So our session today, golf boom, labor shortages, big buzzwords, buzzy enough to have you here today. Thank you. Top manager tips to increase efficiencies, revenue, and ace the player experience. So those are all key attributes to any operation. But before we get started, we want to read the room a bit, right?
Yeah. Just by a show of hands, who in here is from a resort course? Daily fee? Private club? Okay, fantastic.
All right, so it's a mixed audience. That's what we're finding in the market. So what we want to talk to today is those three main items, but again, just to get a bit of participation, play experience, revenue, operation efficiency, saving costs. If you had to pick one, who of you by show of hands would pick player experience as being the most important out of all of these three? If you had to pick one, you could only do one. Okay. Who of you by show of hands, if you could only pick one, would choose revenue as key? And who of you would choose operational efficiency as saving costs as key? If you could only pick one. Obviously, that's not a realistic environment, but we would hope that, and I think we all know that we're starting with our customers, right? We're starting with the player experience. Without players, without giving value to them, we don't have any revenue to maximize, and we're not going to have anyone that we can build efficiencies around and save costs around. So we probably want to start with player experience. So what we talked to today is exactly that. And we're starting by which factors are key to creating exceptional player experiences. And then we want to look at what about revenue and lastly efficiencies, especially when there's a world of labor shortages that we're in right now. As an introduction, Tagmarshal, we are a golf course optimization platform. We work with, it's about 400 golf courses at this point. Mostly US and Canada. We do have a few in Europe as well, but US and Canada is our home. Here's the cream of the crop on the private club side: East Lake, down the road from our office in Atlanta, Valhalla, Quakerage, Baltusrol. We met the team for Baltusrol yesterday at our stand. These guys have all been with us for a number of years. On the daily fee side, resort side, again, Whistling Straits hosted a fantastic Ryder Cup. Pebble Beach, Bandon Dunes. I hope many of you have been there. If not, keep it on your list. Amazing golf to be played. It's the cream of the crop. There's 30 of the top 100 that we get to work with. That is important because these facilities are all ahead of the game, right? And they have managers that know their stuff, and they have managers that keep looking and pushing for better. And why that's important is because we get to learn from them. Our very first customer is Aaron Hills. We got a lucky break. If you speak to Jim Lombardo, they've been with us for 6 years, he would say, when we started Tagmarshal, because he's so invested in this innovative way of managing operations. We also partner with the European Tour. We help the USGA where we can with data. They're very data hungry, as are we, so we can be friends. We're partners with the GBN. We're going to be there later today. And we're firmly entrenched in the industry, looking to help where we can. Important, however, is that the majority of our partners are really middle of the road, daily fee and private clubs, because there's only ever going to be 100 top 100 clubs, but most of the golf, 500 million rounds in the US every year get played at a club like yours, right? Again, a quick poll, player experience. If we had to pick three things out of this list, which is part of a famous poll that all of your members and guests constantly play, but also the USGA has done that. Course design, course conditioning, clubhouse and amenities, pace and flow of play, playing partners, who is in my group, accessibility, tee times availability, and cost and value, where that's obviously a combination of all of those other things. If we could only pick 3 things, think about it, what would you pick? As a golfer, what would you pick? Which three make it? And as an operator, which three make it? So you're probably going to find that course conditioning is ranking pretty high. Would you agree? If you've forgotten, look at your budget at your club. It's a good reminder because everything goes in there, right? And for good reason, right? But what else is important? What else is important to players? If I get to play with Joey, that's a very entertaining 4 hours if he doesn't take my money. So I want to know who I get to play with, right? That's important. And then very, very high normally floats pace and flow of play. Pace and flow of play as an experience is traffic, it's delayed airplanes, it's late service at a restaurant. That's what pace and flow of play is, right? But also time it takes to play is key. Talking to Matt Ward this morning, Les brought him over and he said he plays less golf because he doesn't have the time. Time is key. Why is Topgolf going so well? 2.5 hours in and out, right? Time is key. So the USGA's research echoes that 82% of players believe course conditioning crucial to their enjoyment factors. So if we want play experience to rise, course conditioning is important. But you cannot make your course twice as good from a conditioning point of view unless you have unlimited budget and resources, which none of you have. Very close to this is pace, flow, time it takes to play. If you look at the percentages, it's not far off. And in between here is who's in my group, right? Don't pair me with that strange single like Craig. I want to know who I'm playing with, right? I want this to be a great 4 hours out there. So if we do these things right, and obviously accessibility for the player, can I get a tee time, especially on a Saturday when I have time? And do I get to choose who I play with? Well, that can be controlled by you. That can be controlled by the players. Conditioning, you're putting so much effort into it. You've got a magician at your golf course that gets anything they need, hopefully, to make this happen. Well, what about pace and flow of play? This is a bit of a dark art. And this is traditionally underutilized as an opportunity as far as golf is concerned. And here's more research that backs that. So this lady here is Christina Spinova from Erin Hills. She's the director of operations, but she's also a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. And they were tasked with a research project finding out what is the player experience, what really matters in a round of golf, right? Because if we want to make the player experience better, we need to understand that. So they did a 2-year study quizzing thousands of golfers, working very closely with multiple operations, various climates, various types, and they got a really deep research project out of that for the USGA, which they presented at the Golf Innovation Symposium in Tokyo. So what they found is there are 1,000 touch points in a player experience. How on earth can there be 1,000 touch points in a player experience? So what do you do first when you want to play a round of golf? Any answer is right.
First?
Yeah. You book the round. Okay, good start. Then at some point you load the clubs into your trunk, right? At some point you drive through the gate. At some point somebody greets you. Those are all touch points, right? At some point you check in. At some point you get to the driving range, do some practice swings. Those are all touch points. So they found that within 1,000 touch points, they're not all created equal. Some absolutely make my experience. Some can absolutely break my experience. And many of them float in the middle and they're neither here nor there, right? So the surprising result of this USGA research was that positive ranger etiquette received the top score overall. Positive ranger etiquette. Who would have thought? We all thought, no, conditioning, surely. No, positive ranger etiquette. And why is that? Because the traditional ranger and marshal role is so poorly regarded. And to have somebody come over and grunt at you, get on with it, you're slow. That is what players cannot stand. And so reversely, at the very bottom of this list of 1,000 things that happen in the golf experience is corrective pace of play actions, this overall worst score. What's the worst corrective pace of play action that you've ever come across? What's the sort of buzzwords that make your heart sort of beat a little bit faster.
Speed up.
Speed up, you're slow, right? Slow, get on with it. Corrective pace of play actions is not well liked. Now, equally problematic in the play experience is other people's speed. Now, this is a conundrum, right? Because players saying, don't come to me and tell me I'm slow, but everyone else who's slow, go and tell them. Yes?
Depending on the courses that you did that evaluation on, if you're on good courses, then obviously they're used to having perfect conditions, so that's not a big deal to them. If you played on a lot of shitty courses, excuse my French, and then played on a good course, you would probably evaluate that a little bit higher.
Yeah, so the USGA did this research, and they know where most of the golf gets played. So they're going to the grassroots, absolutely. But again, like, what does value mean? Sometimes $300 is fantastic value, right? Sometimes $30 is way too much. So the customer gets to decide where that is. So important here is that, and it's really incredible from a research point of view, what came out of this USGA study, 2-year study. We got to do a few things right if we want the player experience to shine. Conditioning, great. You're already doing that. You've got great staff, even though they're harder to find. But hold on to them, right? Ritz-Carlton Smiles. Good caddies, drinks cards. All of those things are important. Conditioning. But green and open tees, don't make me wait, and positive ranger etiquette. If you've got somebody out there who helps move things along, make them do it in a kind way that's constructive. Don't come over and grunt at me and say, "Yo, you're slow, get on with it." Other people's speed, well, things need to move. That's important. So this research is available. And if you would like the full deck, they're also looking at what's quicker, kart golf or walking golf. They're looking at other sort of amenities at the golf course. How highly do they rate? What delights people? What frustrates people? Give us a shout. We'll share it with you. It's available on the USGA's website. We can send you the link. Okay. Key challenge number 1: player experience. So we've learned now that the pace is important to players. That's anecdotally, you've always known that. But now we've been thrown a few curveballs with the pandemic, right? Much more traffic. Who of you guys, by show of hands, has done 20% or more additional traffic versus 2019 in 2020? Okay. Who's done less traffic than 29? You've done less traffic.
I live in Germany. They had a lockdown. They wouldn't let anybody out of the house.
Yes, you don't count. No, I get it. No, absolutely. Yes, it was, right? And then the local health authorities know how to run golf operations, so they told you how to stack your tee times, and you only allowed 2 players and all those things that ruin your capacity. Not fun, right? But at the end of it, still, the year's worked out, packed, 3 million additional players added in the US alone. Everyone's done more, but you had to do more with less staff, right? So would you guys agree that 2021 was the last season of forgiveness? Because in 2020, we all pent up, the Germans more than others, and we couldn't get out. And then golf was the one thing that we could do, right? So just let us go play. So if the service not quite right, if the condition's not quite right, if there's fertilizer shortages, whatever it is, we'll forgive you because we're happy we're out. 2021, there's still some of that remaining, right? We just want to get out and play. And it's been so much fun playing more golf because I don't have to travel to work. My kids don't have Saturday sports yet. I've got time to play. Let me go out and play. Okay, all the good things. But what happens now? Well, now play volume is still up. New players are joining, and we want them to join. Please join the game. We're competing for time and attention again, right? Because people's time and attention is gobbled up by getting back to normal and all the things as they used to be. And you've got staff shortages. So we don't have staff. There's so much traffic as an excuse. It's not going to fly in 2022 because you're competing again in a world that's starting to get back to normal. And it's important that we're mindful of that and we do the right things so that we can be ready when the season starts. So how do we know if we're doing things well? So the goal time, you guys would all have a goal time at your course. 4 hours often is the magic number, but that really depends on the course length and difficulties. We play with courses where the goal time is 5 hours. Erin Hills, you can play in 4 hours. Impossible. So 4 hours. So these guys, they're in Arizona and they're coming through at 4:06 average. And you would say, hey, well done. You're doing a good service. And it's a great experience that you're providing as far as the flow is concerned, right? Coming in at 4:06. The problem, however, in the data is that averages are a bad indicator. Things averaging out, really, really quick rounds versus really, really slow rounds, like the average temperature. It's not a good indicator for success. So in this case, and this is real data, 27% are on pace or quicker, some significantly quicker, early morning rounds, and some significantly slower. And if you break it down further, your on pace or fast is just a fraction. Within 10 minutes, it's down here, the orange bar. So you can't see my cursor, I didn't realize. And then it goes 30, 40 minutes up. But because you've got so many quick rounds, the average looks fine. But what we've done now, we can literally, I'm going to show you that. Half of your play. This half, I'm going to cover it with my frame. This half is bad play experience. And it doesn't mean that all these guys are slow. No, there's a few groups that are holding up others. And we probably have tried something. We put a marshal out and he goes out and grunts at people and says, hey, get on with it, right? So now we've done two things that players don't like, even though our averages look fine, okay? So it's important that we look a bit deeper if we really want to understand this. And this is where technology and using certain strategies can really help you. So this is the profile of a club coming through at 4:34. They're a bit slower than they want to be. They want to play to 4:10. And just a few months later, and controlling things out there, having some technology help guide you, making better decisions based on data, everything's balanced out. Your round times come down, everyone's happy. We're creating time for people, and they've got a better play experience. Any course would sign up for this in terms of, give me a magic wand so I can do that, right? Because we know it's good for our business, and we know it's good for retention. Here's an example of Metropolis. In New York, it's the same boat, right? So they're doing 34% more traffic than normal. What happens if you've put 34% more traffic anywhere? PGA show, the Miller's Ale House, the road, air traffic. 34% more traffic means things clog up, right? It's inevitable and things slow down. But with control that they've achieved under the process they've put in place, their round times come down by 12 minutes. So traffic up 30%, round times down to 12 minutes. They created more capacity to get more members out and doing it so safely. So this has been an absolute game changer. And there's numerous stories like this because it's really not difficult with technology to help you do that critical player experience factor. A flow of play, making sure that you do this right consistently every day of the season for every single round. That's an insurance for happy members and guests, right? That is something that will go a long way when it comes to creating value. And if you're looking for the right to ask for a bit more money, which many of you have done, I hope, because there's so much demand, can we put our dues up a bit? Can we put our green fees up a bit? Well, if you're looking for the right to do that, here's a good way to do it. Just very briefly, obviously we're bringing technology into the industry and helping you do what you do better with card golf in the center. What these hardware units do is they feed a system that makes sense of the traffic out on the course. So you can think of it as a Waze or Google Maps for golf course traffic. And that you've got underlying data that helps you run a better operation with fewer people, which we're going to talk to now. If you don't have any tech out there, this is what a course look like. Do you know what's happening on your 13th hole right now? Right now, as we're sitting here, if you're in the north, it's probably snowed under. But we can log into any of our clubs that have got live play out, and we can tell you. So as a manager, this is incredible power at your fingertips. You know what's going on your course, and that's what that looks like. So you know what's happening. Where's my assistant? Where's my greenskeeping staff? Where's my drinks cart? What is happening out on the course in terms of traffic? Well, just having data doesn't really help. It needs to make sense to you. So what we do is we analyze the traffic situation on the course, and you can see group number 17 Big red, scary icon. That means there's an issue and they've got a tail, group 18 and 19 behind them, they're holding up, right? In the past, a marshal would have come out, spoken to group number 19, says, hey guys, you're slow, get on with it. What do these guys say? No, it's not us, it's the guys in front of us, right?
It's never us.
The age old conundrum. So now we sent a marshal to tell them they're slow, they hated that, and they found an excuse immediately, it's the guys in front of us. And in this case, they're actually right. So we're doing away with that, searching for problems and being on the back foot and being on the back foot in conversation and creating sort of challenging situations with your members and guests by giving you data that's really, really easy to use and understand, preemptive. So this group number 17 is the main problem on the course right now. So instead of cruising around for 2 hours looking for an issue, you know that immediately, and you know more than that too. If I click on it, it opens up a sidebar. I know when did these guys start, where are they right now, hole 5. That's why the system's identified them as a big risk. They're early in their round. They already have a tail of 2. If we don't intervene, if they don't become aware of it, that problem is going to grow, right? They'll have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups, 20 people. Today we can mess up right now if we don't do anything. We can also see who's in the group. We've got multiple T-sheet integrations. Not even space for all of them. And we're feeding straight from a T-sheet into this, so we can build player profiles over time. And also you can personalize your approach and your service to people, especially in private club space, great. And so now we know also, how did they go? Progress means they're on hole 5. The first 2 holes they were fine, they started to drop off, maybe lost some balls. Like we've got all of this information ahead of time, and we can go and put it right. So now we would go out, and if there's one lesson you're taking away, preach this to your assistants, rename the marshal to an assistant, because people don't like a marshal, name them assistant, and preach to them, if you've got somebody who's slow, don't tell them they're slow. It's like you've got a low IQ. People can't code, they can't compute. Tell them you're out of position. You're out of position, help us get back in position, because you're supposed to be 300 yards down. Let's get back in position. Easy. They've got a target to work to, they'll work with you and say, thank you. Remember what we said earlier, positive ranger interactions, that's what that looks like. Very easy to implement at your facility. Change the narrative around it. Don't make it confrontational. Say, can you help us get back in position? Right? Easy. So this is the live management portion of things. At the bottom, you've got a tool which we call the gap time monitor. During COVID, a lot of our customers used this as social distancing monitors because they had the local authorities come through and said, are you adhering to the mandate of keeping a distance? Well, yeah, you can see. We can see the distance between groups. This was developed with the European tour. We want to see the gap time as groups move, so we can see if they're bunching up. This happened to be a good solution to show that we were compliant, but it's really obviously a much smarter solution when it comes to managing the player out on the course. So this is live data, great. Line of sight, great. You need data if you want to run efficient operations, and you guys are collecting data, do more of it. It can only help you. And one of the key reasons for that is because we need to measure, are we doing well? And we want to measure what are the variables that matter. Because if we incrementally improve just by 1% every week, the year happens to have 52 weeks. That's a big improvement in 1 year, right? 50% better than we were. And we can only do that if we can measure what we do. If we can't measure it, we're flying blind. So, and if we don't do anything, and God forbid we get a bit worse, the decline really hurts you in the long run. So the key is to do the little things really well. And this is, again, what we're learning from the Pinehursts, from the Band of Dunes, from the Baltusrols, from these fantastic operations. They just run the golf operation. They just do the little things really well consistently and with the highest quality. And in aggregate, that means excellent, right? So one of my favorite stories is we're working with Pinehurst, 1,000 people, and God did it hurt me when Matt Barksay said we furloughed 1,000 people in March of 2020. They obviously stand out when it comes to player experience and conditioning and all the good things. But there's a club down the road called Seven Lakes, $30 green fees. They're solving the same problem with the same solution, right? And Mike Duda there's got 15 staff members. and he gets the same results. So data is key, and this is what that looks like in our world. So we're helping you understand what's happening out on your course live and in aggregate data, right? So on the top, you can see what's the breakdown of singles, twosomes, threesomes, foursomes for a period. It can be a month, it can be a day. Then you've got your average round time as a second window top that shows you how does a day start, what are the key crunch portions of the day, and when do things start to wind down and speed up again. The more information you have, the better you can direct your resources, right? I don't need somebody out there looking for problems for 10 hours. I can immediately see 4 hours is when I need somebody out there to pay attention. Weather, obviously a key factor. And then in the center, all the bars, this is a single month, and every single day is measured against a goal time. I can now click on this and then go into a single day, and then I see each individual tee time, and then I can see where are my choke points, where the problems occur. And at the bottom, you've got your hold stats, 1 to 18 plus halfway. That's broken down into tee box wait time is key. That's where the waiting happens. That's where the frustration happens. And then the fairway and green, and how much time do we spend. And like I said, it's all incremental. So what if we can speed up 3 of our holes with smarter setups, simplify things? Keystone have taken out 1 tree and saved everyone 5 minutes. Valhalla have done course renovations, and it said, well, let's not just renovate because we can. Let's look at how can we make things better? How can we make things run smoother? How can we improve our card paths? Let's look at the data, right? And then bottom right, that is exactly the data we looked at earlier that shows up the average. What percentage of this is really fast, what percentage is on pace, and what percentage is slow? And that is a good indicator of the player experience out there. So this course is achieving really good marks. Of course, we're never perfect, but we want to strive and work towards that. And the more we tune and tweak, the better we can become. So maximizing revenue, another key challenge. So we want to understand what is the opportunity that we have. Yeah, it's been busy, great. But how can we sustain that? And also, we're turning people away every Saturday. We're turning people away. If we've got a private club, can't get around in, it's too busy. Well, how can we look at the data and create capacity safely? In the past, people used to create capacity and saying, oh, let's put the tee times intervals at 7 minutes, just jam them out there, we don't care. Well, that doesn't fly, right? But we can do it safely. And this is a data analysis that looks at early part of the day. There's some key crunch times that happen. That's what we need to pay attention to. But the early part is flowing quite quickly. So what we now do with this data information, you can see the median time running through the day. We are now creating, let me ask a question. Who of you guys work with dynamic pricing? Show of hands, dynamic pricing. One? Does it work for you?
Yeah, pretty well.
Printing money?
By default, we're the only public golf course in our county, so.
Okay, okay.
We're the only
Good business. Dynamic pricing is obviously what airlines have been doing for a long time, right? If there's high demand, we can ask for more money. I learned the other day, the easiest way to dynamically price is to make sure that your tee times, you have as many on the hour as possible. Don't do 8:01, do 8 o'clock, and you can ask for more money. Because people are simple like that. Oh, I want the 8 o'clock tee time, and it's an easy one to hone in on. So dynamic pricing works beautifully in conjunction with a dynamic experience, right? Dynamic goal times, because there are people who like to play quickly, and there are people who are saying, I cannot play golf if I don't know what's going to happen. If this takes 5 hours, I can't play. I'll play less golf because it takes too long. So if there's consistency and there's almost a guarantee, that's when things get interesting, because that's worth something to people. And the research here says if we can do that consistently well, people are paying up to 25% more. That is a lot. We have earning the right to ask for more money. If your green fee is $50, you can ask 25% more. If you give that person, not the 200 people, but the 10 who really want that, if you give them what they want. So that's where we help create capacity. You can see that red stagger. So this is where we're looking at the data, and we're running this course now more quickly, where their goal time might be 4:20 or 4:30. We're now coming in, and some of our clubs do 40, 50 minutes faster, and they market that. They say, you want to play fast lane? Commit to that. We'll help you achieve that. First 5 AT times at our club, you play at 3:30. How many people do you think would say, if I can play in 3:30, I'm going to play. I can do this on a Wednesday and get to the office on time. Fantastic. And all we need is control, live management, control, commitment by the players. You said you were going to do this, let's do it. And we need to know when is it going to work and how is it going to work. So the other opportunity here is now we're making them happier, great, because it's not a one-size-fits-all experience from a time availability point of view, and especially players who've got things to do, younger players with kids, who you want to attract to your club, give them that opportunity. Speed things up. Now, the logical next step here is, well, how can we create more capacity alongside that? Because if your flow, and this is Kira, this is Joey Walters. Isn't this your favorite course?
Love it. Top course.
So if our flow runs at a 4 hour 10 goal time, there is a certain distance that the players will cover after they've played their tee shot, right? And this is what we're building our intervals around normally, right? Get them out of the way safely so the next group can come off, right? Now, what happens if you run your course at certain times of the day, half an hour, 40 minutes quicker, and you got people's commitment? Well, you're creating space. These guys, because they're moving quicker, they're 10, 15% faster, they're moving quicker, they're further ahead. So we can now reduce this interval from 9 minutes to 7. And didn't I say earlier that having a 7-minute interval is suicidal? Well, it's not if you control the space. And we've got a lot of clubs doing this so successfully. Not all day, but when it matters in the morning, and get people's commitment, give them what they want, a special experience, faster golf. And that's how you can build more capacity into things. And if you've got the control around things, beautiful things happen. So this is, this blue line is historic. So the round times would go up to over 5 hours at this course. Now you bring control into the space, and sometimes you have to do things that are counterintuitive. We're squashing our intervals in the morning, but at some key times in the day, we're actually leaving a bit more breathing space. You would have all seen when you got mandated to do 15-minute intervals, there was no pace problem, nothing ever jammed up, right? But it kills your capacity. You got 30, 40% less capacity. You can't run your business like that. So here, sometimes we need to then free up a bit of space. And what happens if you do this well, round times come down 40 minutes in that key time that jams up where people call it clubhouse. You're making them happy now. And ultimately what comes out of it is player experience up and revenue is up. Wisconsin Club, member dues, Oakwant, we worked with them for 3 years and they want to run their course like clockwork. It's championship conditions any day of the year, and they want to provide a perfect experience for their members and guests. And every year we say, hey guys, when are we going to do the next level? You know, like you've got data now, let's go. They came to us and said, we've had so much demand, we want to get more players out. We designed a strategy with them and they created 2,500 rounds this last year that they never had. They said, let's try this out 3 days of the week, 2,500 rounds versus 3 days of the week. They said, it worked so well, we're going to do it every day of the week next year. I hear you're saying, we're not that busy. We're not Oakwant. But what if you can make this happen at your club twice a week, you know? And is that not worth something to you? So here's a club that's done that, Fieldstone, they're not Oakwant, 55, what would they charge? What did Fieldstone?
About $100 a round right now. They go down to, I think, 60 in the afternoon.
60, yeah. Mm-hmm. So $100 comes in the dynamic pricing because Chip knows at certain times of day he can ask, he can go there, he can go to the 90, but normally it's 55, 60. So they have increased their golf revenue in 2021, and that's not the COVID bump. They had that pandemic boost at the bottom, you can see that gray, but things were messy. It was busy. Yeah, people forgive them because, yeah, we can get out, thanks, it's okay. But things take too long, not quite happy. So this year, they tied down on getting control of their course and tying in these dynamic goal times, dynamic pricing opportunities, and they upped their golf revenue by 25%. That is a game changer that's a municipal course for their revenue, for their operation. So this is optimization, that's what we can do. And Chip will tell you, we're not doing anything different, we're just doing it better, right? We're not all of a sudden magic wanding, we're just doing what we do better. More capacity in rounds, Tea time availability is up, especially when it matters. Great, let's get the people out. And our food and beverage revenue is up alongside that because people come off the course quicker, they've got more time, they're less grumpy. And if we've got more footfall, that also means more people in the restaurant. Okay. Key challenge number 3, efficiency and labor shortages. So if you've got good staff, you want to hold on to them for dear life. And they're generally, hopefully, service-minded people, right? So the key is that you want to get as many service hours and as many golfer-facing hours out of these guys as you possibly can. And don't waste their time with tasks like, let's cruise around the course and see if there's any issues. That's not a well-spent time. So that's where a lot of the clubs that we work with are saying, great, I don't need to spend money on a marshal. I don't need to have a grumpy former policeman grunt at my players and get a few free rounds for that. I'm going to get my assistant in play with this information. We put a big screen in the clubhouse. The players know that we're watching. The players know that we care about their time and experience. We've got geofencing set up. There's less misdemeanors out on the course of all the 19-year-old players that we've now attracted. And we don't have to go watch all the time because the system does that job for us, right? So we've got time to spend on the things that really matter, which is golfer interactions and not looking for problems. So we can now optimize labor hours, do more with less people, and we can do accurate resourcing. So we can do the things that really matter to golfers, making sure that things move quickly and we can have positive interactions out there with 2 hours a day when it matters, not 8 hours a day. And for the other 6 hours or however long it takes, we can get more things done around the clubhouse that add value to the club and to the players. While we've got information, we've got data, well, how can we add value to the superintendents? Well, if we know where people are going, where they're not going, we can create heat maps. We can help them save money on fertilizer. We can help them save money in irrigation at labor hours. Because why do we throw the same amount of resources into areas that get no traffic or wear and tear at all? And especially if there's fertilizer shortages, come across that?
It's been a pretty steady theme this year or last year in 2021. Several events I attended or seminars, it was a big subject of concern for everybody.
And labor, right?
Obviously, yes, labor.
So if we can control and understand mow patterns, our superintendent should know it takes X amount of minutes to do this fairway. So why is our resource taking twice as long, right? How can we get efficiencies out of the hours that we do have available? So data really can be a game changer for your operation on all of these fronts. Speaking to Hanke Ewan from the USGA, he's got this really simplified view on the golf operations. Sometimes he would say, you're running 4 businesses at once. You're running a farm, very resource intensive. You can lose money very quickly, right? You're running retail, your pro shop, try and make money in retail, sustainable, really difficult. You're running a restaurant. You know how many restaurants close doors every 2-3 years? If it's not 80% capacity, they're not making money. It's really difficult. So the one thing that drives the bus behind all of this is golf. It's a factory. You're running a factory. You're trying to be efficient, getting people out, and as many of them as you can safely with a good quality. That's the factory, and it's what drives all these other businesses. So if we can do that well, that brings sustainability into our operation. And like Chip at Fieldstone would attest, a 25% uptake in green fees is obviously a game changer from a profitability point of view. And it's incremental. It's not like we're not doing twice as much. We're doing things a little bit better and a little bit smarter because we've got the right information and we can be more efficient around it. I think we're right on time because we're the pace people. Do you have any questions? We'd love to field some questions if you have any.
When do you see your return on investment?
Very quickly. There's multiple ways in doing this. You can obviously save money immediately if you're using less labor hours. There's opportunities normally with the line of sight and the data starting to flow, and we're seeing changes within 3 or 4 months that are quite significant because we've been flying blind. Now we know what's going on, right? And we can be more efficient. So 3-4 months, and then normally, and we don't want to overburden the opportunity. Normally, towards the end of the season, we start testing some of these strategies, right? So everyone can be comfortable. Great, it works. Next season, off we go, right? So it's a incremental opportunity that was within 3-4 months starts to yield, but your efficiency from a staffing point of view and the player experience point of view, this is a matter of weeks where this really makes a dent. More questions?
Can we just elaborate on that just a little bit
Go
before we go on? So for Fieldstone, excuse me, Fieldstone is about an 8-month course, and they're a first-year partner for us. And they were able to recognize that amount in the first year. So it gives you a little bit of an idea on the return. Obviously, everybody's a little different, but Chip really used the data this year. He's dug in. Now he's looking for year 2, and he's digging deeper. He wants to take another step. So he's a great case study for us to see what can happen in one short season. In fact, all those guys up there, I believe, are 6 to 8 month courses.
Yeah, Cog Hill as well. They switched over to our system in April, and within 3 months, their round times were down about 18 minutes. And they learned so much about the operation that they never knew. And you can never know enough about your business, obviously. So there was another question.
Yeah, how is it different than Visage, GPS Visage?
Yeah. So Visage obviously has got a big 10-inch screen and flyovers, and it's very much player focused, right? So we are a business solution. So we will give you, I'm going to show that to you quickly. We do have a screen because enough people have asked us for it, which is a iPhone 13 brightness 8-inch screen. Like, it's a beautiful display, really robust. But we're different in that our system runs on the back-end power and giving you a business tool. We just need to feed data into that, right? Where visitors will say, well, your players are going to love it. Plus, there's another difference in, well, the players love us too, because accurate, you do testing all the time, right? What's the accuracy that you're finding from a range finding point of view?
1 yard.
Yeah,
is what it's been. Yeah.
So the food order, the advertising, all those things that Visage do, we're doing as well. But it's really the back end, the incremental improvement drives the strategies. We've got a team, customer success team with data analysts that will help you and say, these are the trends we're seeing at your course. Here are things that you can consider. Let's go and test this out. Test against our and your assumptions. Okay, here's progress. Right, we help you achieve that because we have learned from 400 people. We're getting data all the time where you're running one course, you have one set of information. Well, we can give you the best from everywhere and make that work for you. The one thing that we don't do, and maybe compared to Visage as well, is we don't stop the carts if people are going into a restricted area. And I know your superintendents are saying, but I want them to stay out of here, get those players off my course. But players hate it. They hate it. And especially if they're not quite familiar with the cart, for them to then cruise out slowly backwards and figure this out, they're like patronized. It's a little bit like a corrective place of play action. Players hate it. So the way we do it, we just tell them, hey, you're in the wrong place right now. Please acknowledge and move out. And if somebody misbehaves, you have the data, you can talk to them. But if the system beeps at you and tells you, it's hard to ignore it. But we're not going to patronize and shut you down because, again, that's not a good experience. And also, we know players are smart. Like more senior players, what do they do?
Back up.
Back up onto the green.
Because it'll allow you to go backwards. So
yeah,
they found a way to game the system.
If you try and back up with our system, it'll still tell you and beep at you, get off the green, please. Wasn't there the story of the two boys who rode right over the green?
Yeah, one of our partners in Tennessee, I was up there and doing a little check-in with him, check to make sure everything was going good, and just kind of seeing how he was. And while I was there, he got a report that a couple of guys had drove across one of the greens. Somebody had saw him, so it kind of alerted him. He wasn't really watching his map, and he wasn't paying attention to the alerts. So now we've got to pay attention to those alerts. But he came and got me, and he said, hey, can I tell where these guys went? I said, sure. Let's go in and we'll pull up the track map. Pull it up. Sure enough, you can see exactly which cart it is. It drives across the 17th green. right down the middle of it. So what he does is, guy has actually a great interaction with the two kids, 18 and 16 years old. So fairly new to golf, you know, still shouldn't drive across the green, but he brings them in and he says, hey, I'm gonna ask you a question. Did you guys happen to drive across the green? Kid goes, no, sir. He said, before you answer that, kid, he said, well, I'll tell you, I've got a system where I can tell where you went. He said, yes, sir, we did. So he has a nice interaction with the kids. You know, he's trying not to run them off, but he's like, you know, hey, look, don't drive across the green, right? Kids leave and everything. Gary turns to me and he says, you know, it's not really going to hurt it. We drive stuff on the greens all the time, but it's just, you know, it's the principle of it. You don't want these kids doing this, you know, especially on days when the greens are soft and things like that, you know, get some rain. So it was a great thing for him to show these kids. Now these kids are going and telling their buddies.
Sure.
So we're starting to spread in that area that Gary has this type of a system where he can see everything's going on his course and he doesn't have to be out there.
The other story that's common, and you've all been there, is players coming and said, today was terrible. You made me play 520 and I was just held up all day and it was shocking and I'm never coming back here and give my money back and all those things, right? So if you've got the track map, perception and data are different things. Let's look at what actually happened. And more often than not, they played in 425, 15 minutes slower than we want to. But is this now a train smash? Well, we're certainly not going to comp them. And also what happens often is they were potentially holding up others. And the moment you can show them that, the argument's gone out the window. So it's not a opinion versus opinion. Well, you've got data, makes your life easy.
So, but I'll tell you one more. Before I'm the storyteller. So one of our clients up in North Georgia, I get a phone call from him and he says, hey, I need your help. I need you to be able to pull the track map for me. I said, well, what happened? He said, I had a guy come in, we were playing a shotgun tournament, and he comes limping in after he finished 18, and the whole rear axle was torn out from underneath the cart. I said, okay. I said, let's take a look at the map and see what happened. I can see where he started about 4 holes in. He actually goes across the 4th fairway, over a sand trap, and goes down a ravine on the golf course. And comes out the other side, and then drives it for about 5 more holes. And they use that data to go after the guy for payment to get the $1,200 back out of him that it costs to fix the cart. So it has a few other benefits as well. You know, you can get some guys out there get a little crazy. But.
Yeah, but imagine you have this live map in a clubhouse on the big screen, which a lot of our partners do. It shows 2 things, and we normally rotate it like this is our policy. We care about your time. This is how we want to play today. They know that you care. They know that also I can't say it's everyone in front of us because we know we've got information. So already that changes the game from a compliance point of view. Yeah, we've got a lot of courses up in New York that have got very firm and strict pace of play policies. Well, they can tear a lot of them up because this takes care of that. And there is no more opinion versus opinion. You've got data, and it's impossible to argue with. So they're creating a culture of the players are taking pride in it, and they want to be known as a quick course, and they're all working and contributing towards it. And it's not a finger-pointing game any longer. And that's really a fantastic outcome. And obviously for a daily fee space, we state value is great conditioning, yeah, good staff that's welcoming. And if we can get through in a good time and there's no holdups, we'll come back here. And like we said, use dynamic pricing, use dynamic goal times as the right to ask for a bit more and find the people. It's not everyone, but it's 25%, 30% of golfers are saying, I will pay a bit more and I can play more golf if you can make that happen for me. And the beauty is now you're pulling the entire day long. If your first 5 or 8 tee times are quick, the rest of the day pulls along, everybody wins. Any more questions?
Kind of going back to the comparison to Visage,
Sure.
and I find this a lot with new apps that have great technology and data and all of this. How is your onboarding / training and getting that analytics and able to? For me, I know personally I have access to that, and I have to have meetings meetings for the entire staff to relay that. And I can do that, but it's a lot better coming from y'all. How much of an interaction once you actually get your product and the implementation and the training? Because this is a great tool, but if not everyone in the pro shop knows how to see your analytics and how to process that, and you know, kind of could be another tool that you buy that basically you don't get the full utilization out of.
100%.
So internally, we have a training manager who has a staff with them, and we will line up and we'll train everybody on your staff. We get it together. We do it remotely, obviously, but we will train everybody. And, you know, there's sessions on these, and we will bust them up into several sessions for you. And we're not the company to go away once you're done with that initial training session. We're there to keep going. And if you don't have the answers you need, we're there to help. And we will get you those answers. We'll help you dig into the data. We want our customers or our partners to be successful, right? And the only way you can be successful is if you've got this data and you're utilizing that data. So we want to make sure you understand how to use it and that your staff knows how to use it.
And real quick, so then how long does it for you to be able to start producing that data? Would you say typically it's a week? You know,
so we normally run.
Do y'all go off that and give suggestions on now? This is when I change your time intervals at this time.
Yeah, so we're starting with the basics first, which is know your course, right? So once we've got some data running, within a week, we're saying, okay, you told us you thought hole number 6 should play in 14 minutes, but what we're finding it's actually playing in 16 or in 12, right? We're making some adjustments just so we're as accurate as possible with what's actually happening versus what we thought was happening. And then within a month, we do the first report for you, right? We say, okay, this is what we found. But what's important initially, like you said, you want your team's processes to get better down. They know that if I do these things well, I get the reward, which is my day's easier, right? But also it's good for my business that I work for, right? So our training solution is we've got an online learning management that's your like a Udemy type setup with little bite-sized chunks videos that your people, depending on their role within and how they interact with the system, it might be 15 minutes of training, it might be 25 minutes of training. But we'll always feed back to the manager that Peter, Tom, and Harry have done it, and Michael hasn't. He hasn't done it yet. And then we'll show you, okay, now this is the level that we've reached. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Because absolutely, we realize that we'll be successful, and we are successful if the teams that we empower get the results out of the system. It's not a case of, here you go, good luck. That's not like for us, the journey ends once you've re-signed with us for the second time, right? And why would you? Well, once you have the status information at your fingertips and you keep getting better around it, you cannot go back, you cannot turn it off. But we need to earn the right to be that partner to you. And that's where we have a dedicated team around customer success. That's all they do. And that's, for us, from a growth strategy point of view, money is so well spent. You know, if we put money into our customers and making sure that they get the results, well, they come back and tell their stories on webinars with us, which 10 of you watch and 3 of you say, I want to do that, because not what Bodo or Joey said, but because what the manager said. So that's when this journey comes full circle. And we always try and do that as well as we can, obviously. So more questions. And we've got 3 more minutes before you all get on with your next
just to tap on what Bodo said, you know, I think internally for Tagmarshal, it's great whenever we sign a new partner, but it's a big deal for us when we re-sign a current partner. Craig gets really excited about that. Bodo gets excited. I get excited. That means we're doing things right. That's our intent, is to retain our customers and have them be long-term. We want long-term partners. We don't want somebody that's around for 2 or 3 years and then gone. We want these guys to be with us and help them prosper.
Yeah, and just the screen, Wingfoot re-signed. They're with us for 4 years, Eastlag 4 years, Valhalla 4 years, Quaker, Walters well. They're all re-signed multi-year customers. Aaron Hill's customer number 1, like I said earlier, And it's about these long-lasting relationships. Sure, sometimes you don't get it right. Sometimes there's a change in ownership. Sometimes there's circumstance that nobody can control. And we may lose a customer here or there. But with a 90.4% retention rate, that speaks to service, and that speaks to that we care and we want to be good to work with.
Coghill is the first year. They were a 1-year customer. They just re-signed for an additional year already.
Yeah,
We had a 3-year contract in place with them, and they just upped it to another year.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that if it didn't work. If it didn't work for them. But maybe one more point to the training. We also know labor shortages, people in and out. You may start your season this year with 50-60% staff that has never been around you. They're all new. They're new to your culture. They're new to your processes. They're new to your systems. Well, it's no good for us if they get a 5-minute introduction by a staffer who's got a million things to do. We want to make sure that these guys are trained and they know what to do, and they become as an important part of your process that you're running, and that tie in with the system from the get-go. And for us, it's always an opportunity to find another champion who will get just a little bit more performance out of our system for you, for your course. So every single year, we'll do the training, we'll do the certification, and we'll run the process again in a way that's not burdensome to the manager, because we can do it all online and we can do it with video and learning management system.
And as Bodo said, I mean, we know there's turnover in the industry, and there's new staff that comes in occasionally, right? So we'll train those guys or ladies. We don't have a problem getting online with them and having these phone calls and helping them get up to speed.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. Yeah, go ahead, in the front. We do have Spanish customers, and we do have Spanish training material. The front end is very minimal language, actually. So we don't have a language pack because there's just 5 words on it. But it's something that we can certainly look at. So a question at the back.
How would you determine that a golf course's ideal basis as far as for 18 holes golf?
Yes. Maybe I can hand over that question to one of our data geeks.
Yeah, so it's a good question. Every course is different, right? And in collecting this data, we get to see the profile of your course. We learn very quickly what an early morning round takes somebody to play. And that typically is what I call the baseline. You know, the guys that are playing early, that's typically where you can go. You can't go faster than that. So we will then build up from there.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, on the hour. Really a pleasure, and thank you for the great questions. If you would like to come have a chat to us, ask more questions, we also have a whole library of information, webinars of what other people have done that's available, and also things that you can apply and deploy, whether you have technology or not. Come find us at 3425, like behind the club car on the main aisle. Come and chat, meet our team. We're here, and yeah, I'd love to learn what your plans are for the year and what you're looking to do differently. Thanks, everyone.